The bargain. The rejection letter crumpled in Samira Sharma's trembling hands as she stood before her father's hospital bed. 3 months since his stroke, and the medical bills had already devoured their savings. The art gallery had just declined her paintings again. Without income, they would lose everything within weeks. "How is he today?" her mother Priya whispered, eyes red-rimmed from another sleepless night. "The same," Samira replied, tucking the letter into her pocket. She wouldn't burden her mother with another disappointment. The neurologist had been clear. Her father needed specialized therapy unavailable at the government hospital. Without it, recovery was unlikely. The bank's final notice for mortgage payments sat unopened on their kitchen table beside collection letters from the hospital. Outside the hospital room, Samira's phone vibrated. The number was unfamiliar. "Miss Sharma? This is Aditya Kapoor representing Mr. Vikram Malhotra." The name sparked recognition. Vikram Malhotra, the reclusive CEO of Malhotra Industries. Rarely seen in public but known throughout Mumbai for his business acumen and enormous wealth. "Mr. Malhotra would like to meet you today at 4 p.m. "There must be a mistake," Samira said. "I don't know Mr. Malhotra. He assures me there's no mistake. A car will collect you." Before she could refuse, the call ended. Curiosity won over caution. The sleek black car delivered her to a modernist building overlooking the Arabian Sea. She was escorted to a minimalist office where a man stood gazing out floor-to-ceiling windows, his back to her. When Vikram Malhotra turned, Samira was struck by his appearance. Early 30s, impeccably dressed, with intense eyes that seemed to evaluate everything. Not conventionally handsome, but commanding. "Thank you for coming, Miss Sharma." His voice was softer than expected. "Why am I here, Mr. Malhotra?" He gestured toward a chair. "I have a proposition. I'm aware of your family's financial difficulties, your father's medical needs, the mortgage, your younger brother's education costs." Samira stiffened. "How do you know about my family?" "I make it my business to know things," he replied without elaboration. "I can make your problems disappear. All debts cleared, the best medical care for your father and your family's home secured." "In exchange for what?" Suspicion colored her voice. Vikram's expression remained impassive. "Marriage," the word hung between them. "Is this some kind of joke?" "I never joke about business, Miss Sharma. I need a wife for specific business and social purposes. You need financial salvation. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement." Samira stood to leave. "I'm not for sale. Consider it a contract, not a purchase. 1 year minimum. Separate bedrooms if you prefer. Your family's problems solved, and afterward divorce with a generous settlement." She paused at the door. "Why me?" Something flickered across his face, too quick to identify. "You're suitable for my requirements. You have until tomorrow to decide." Walls of silence. 3 weeks into her marriage, Samira sat alone at the massive dining table in Vikram's penthouse. The housekeeper, Mrs. Desai, placed a steaming plate before her with an apologetic smile. "Mr. Malhotra called. He'll be working late again." Samira nodded, unsurprised. This had become their routine. She dined alone while Vikram buried himself in work. When they did occupy the same space, conversation remained perfunctory. "Thank you, Mrs. Desai." After the housekeeper left, Samira pushed the food around her plate. The contract she'd signed weighed heavily on her conscience, though she couldn't regret her decision. Her father had been transferred to a prestigious private hospital the day after the wedding. Their family home was safe, and her brother Rohan could continue his engineering studies without worry. The price? Living as a stranger in this beautiful cage. Abandoning dinner, Samira wandered to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Mumbai's glittering skyline. She'd left her tiny art studio behind, along with her dreams of making a living from her paintings. Vikram had provided a room for her to work, fully stocked with expensive supplies. But inspiration eluded her in this sterile environment. Her phone chimed with a message from her mother. "Your father spoke today." Just a few words, but the doctors are encouraged. A photo followed, her father giving a weak thumbs up from his hospital bed. The sight brought tears to her eyes. This was why she'd agreed to Vikram's arrangement. This made it worthwhile. Later that night, Samira was sketching in the living room when she heard the elevator doors open. Vikram entered, loosening his tie. Despite everything, her heart quickened at the sight of him. There was something magnetic about his presence. something vulnerable beneath his controlled exterior. "You're still awake," he observed. Surprise evident in his voice. "I couldn't sleep." He nodded, then noticed her sketchbook. "May I?" When she hesitated, he added, "Please." Samira handed it over, watching nervously as he examined her drawings. His fingers traced the lines with unexpected gentleness. "These are remarkable," he said quietly. "You capture emotion beautifully." "Thank you." The compliment felt genuine, making her wonder about the man behind the businessman facade. "I've arranged a gallery showing next month," Vikram said suddenly. "For your work." Samira stared at him. "Without asking me." His expression shuddered. "I thought you'd be pleased. I apologize for the presumption." Before she could respond, he returned her sketchbook and retreated to his study. The next morning, Samira found a folder on the kitchen counter. Inside were the gallery details, one of Mumbai's most prestigious venues, an opportunity most emerging artists could only dream about. She confronted Vikram as he prepared to leave for work. "Why are you doing this?" "It's part of our arrangement." His tone was businesslike. "Your talent deserves recognition." "That wasn't in our contract." Something flickered in his eyes. "Consider it a bonus." After he left, Samira explored the penthouse, seeking some insight into the enigma she'd married. His bedroom was immaculate but impersonal. His study remained locked. The only personal touch was a single photograph in his dressing room, a young boy beside an older woman, both smiling. "That's his grandmother," Mrs. Desai explained when Samira asked. "The only person who ever truly loved him," he says. That night, lying awake in her separate bedroom, Samira wondered what kind of man negotiated for a wife but seemed afraid to speak to her. What secrets lay behind Vikram's walls of silence? Hidden truths. The exhibition was a stunning success. Samira's paintings, vibrant explorations of resilience amid adversity, garnered critical acclaim and substantial sales. Through it all, Vikram remained in the background, watching with what seemed like pride from a distance. "You must be thrilled with your protégé's success," an art critic commented to him. "She's not my protégé," Vikram corrected. "She's my wife." The declaration, spoken with unexpected warmth, caught Samira by surprise. It was the first time he'd publicly acknowledged their relationship as something more than a business arrangement. 2 days later, Vikram departed for a week-long business trip to Singapore. Alone in the penthouse, Samira felt both relieved and strangely bereft. His absence created space to breathe, yet highlighted how accustomed she'd grown to his presence. "Would you organize the files in Mr. Malhotra's study while he's away?" Mrs. Desai asked one morning. He mentioned needing help with that before he left. Surprised by the request, Vikram's study had been off-limits. Samira agreed. Mrs. Desai handed her the key with a knowing smile that made Samira wonder if the housekeeper understood more about their arrangement than she let on. The study reflected Vikram's personality meticulously, organized yet with surprising touches of warmth. Ancient Sanskrit texts shared shelf space with contemporary art books. A small bronze Nataraja figurine presided over his desk. Samira began sorting through the files as requested, but when she opened the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet, she froze. Inside was a familiar blue folder, identical to ones she'd used for her portfolio submissions years ago. With trembling hands, she lifted it out. Inside were photographs of her early paintings, exhibition pamphlets from small galleries where she'd shown her work, and newspaper clippings mentioning her name. Some dated back 5 years, long before they'd met. Beneath these was something even more shocking: payment receipts. One for her brother Rohan's first semester college fees, dated 3 years ago. Another for her mother's cataract surgery from last year, all anonymous donations. Her heart racing, Samira dug deeper and found a sealed envelope addressed to her father's former business partner. Inside was correspondence about debt forgiveness, arranged through a holding company she now recognized as one of Vikram's subsidiaries. "He's been helping us for years," she whispered to the empty room. Leather-bound book caught her attention, a journal. Opening it felt like an invasion of privacy, but she needed answers. Inside, she found not diary entries but sketches. Her sketches, ones she'd submitted to contests and never seen again. Alongside them were Vikram's notes. "Extraordinary use of light. Remarkable emotional depth. The talent is undeniable." The final page held a newspaper photograph of her at a small gallery showing 2 years ago. She remembered that day. The gallery owner had told her an anonymous buyer had purchased her entire collection before the exhibition even opened. A separate folder contained legal documents about her father's medical care. Vikram had secured India's top neurologist months before proposing their arrangement. Samira sank into Vikram's chair, mind reeling. Their marriage wasn't a cold business transaction born of opportunity. It was the culmination of years of invisible support and apparently admiration. But why the secrecy? Why not approach her directly? A notification chimed on her phone, a message from Vikram. Flying home early. Important client meeting canceled. Will arrive tomorrow evening. Samira looked at the evidence spread before her. Tomorrow she would confront the man who had silently shaped her family's fate for years. That night she couldn't sleep, her mind filled with questions. Had he manipulated her into this marriage? Or was there something deeper motivating his actions? Something he couldn't express through words. As dawn broke, Samira realized she no longer saw their arrangement as a bargain struck from desperation. The truth was far more complex and somehow more frightening than any business deal could ever be. The confession. Samira spent the day in a state of nervous anticipation, arranging and rearranging the evidence she'd found. By evening, she'd created a timeline of Vikram's involvement in her life, a shadow presence supporting her family and career for nearly 5 years. When the elevator chimed at 7 p.m., she was waiting in the living room, the documents spread across the coffee table. Vikram stepped in, loosening his tie, then froze when he saw her expression. His eyes darted to the table and registered the familiar blue folders. "You went through my private files," he said, his voice carefully neutral. "You asked Mrs. Desai to have me organize your study," Samira replied. "Was it deliberate? Did you want me to find these?" Vikram set down his briefcase, his composure visibly slipping. For the first time since she'd known him, he appeared uncertain. "No," he admitted quietly. "I forgot they were there." 5 years, Vikram. You've been watching over my family for 5 years. She held up one of the receipts. You paid for Rohan's first semester when Dad's business was struggling. You covered Mom's surgery. You bought all my paintings at that gallery showing when no one else would. He remained silent, his back rigid. "Why?" Samira pressed. "Why the charade of a business arrangement when you've been our anonymous benefactor all along?" Vikram walked to the window, keeping his back to her. "I never intended for you to discover this." "That's not an answer." His shoulders slumped slightly. "I saw your work at a small exhibition 5 years ago. There was something in your paintings, a spirit, a perspective I'd never encountered. I wanted to know the artist behind them." He turned to face her. "I attended another showing where you were present. You were speaking with such passion about your work, about creating beauty from struggle. I wanted to introduce myself, but what? Social interaction doesn't come easily to me," he admitted, the confession clearly difficult. "I've spent my life behind spreadsheets and contracts. Words fail me outside of business contexts." Samira softened slightly. "So instead of talking to me, you started anonymously supporting my family?" "Your father's business partner owed my company money. Forgiving that debt was simple. Your brother's scholarship application crossed my desk through an educational foundation I fund. Your mother's surgery was arranged through a medical program my company sponsors. Small interventions that required no direct contact. And our marriage? Was that another small intervention?" Vikram finally met her gaze. "When I learned about your father's stroke, I knew the financial burden would crush your family. The marriage proposal was impulsive. The only way I could think to help directly without seeming like charity." "You could have just told me the truth," Samira said. "What would I have said? I've been following your career for years and feel a connection to you through your art." He shook his head. It sounded obsessive even to me. "It is a bit obsessive," she agreed, but there was no accusation in her tone. "I never expected anything from you," Vikram said quietly. "The separate bedrooms, the minimal interaction, it was to respect your boundaries. I knew you were only there for your family." Samira approached him slowly. "All these months I thought you were distant because this was just business to you." It was never just business. The admission seemed to cost him greatly. "Why did you promote my exhibition?" A hint of a smile touched his lips. "Because your talent deserves recognition. That part was entirely selfish. I wanted to see what you would create when freed from financial worry. Samira studied the complex man before her. Not a cold businessman, but someone who communicated care through actions rather than words. We've been living as strangers, she said. Perhaps it's time we properly introduced ourselves. She extended her hand. I'm Samira Sharma. I paint emotions I can't express, and I've never been good at accepting help. After a moment's hesitation, Vikram took her hand. Vikram Malhotra. I hide behind contracts because I've never learned how to express what I feel. Their hands remained connected long after the introduction ended. Canvas of love. 3 months after Samira's discovery, the penthouse had transformed. Vikram's once sterile living room now showcased Samira's vibrant paintings. The formal dining room, previously used only for business meetings, had become their nightly gathering place where they shared meals and conversation. Tonight, they sat on the balcony overlooking the city lights, sharing a bottle of wine. Vikram had loosened his tie and rolled up his sleeves, small changes that symbolized larger transformations. The Children's Art Foundation approved our proposal, Samira said, smiling. We'll begin workshops next month in 3 underprivileged schools. Vikram nodded, a quiet pride in his eyes. Your idea to combine art therapy with education will make a significant difference. Our idea, she corrected gently. I wouldn't have had the resources without you. And I wouldn't have had the vision without you. In the months since their confrontation, they had carefully dismantled the walls between them. Vikram had revealed his childhood in boarding schools after his parents' death, raised by administrators and occasional holiday visits from his grandmother. He spoke of learning to suppress emotions, to translate everything into business terms because feelings had no measurable value in his world. Samira shared her own struggles, the pressure of supporting her family through art, the compromise of commercial work over creative expression, the fear of failure that haunted her decisions. Slowly, they had begun building something neither had experienced: partnership. I visited your father today, Vikram said, refilling their glasses.
His progress is remarkable, Samira smiled.
Her father was now walking with minimal assistance, his speech improving weekly. He asked when you're coming for Sunday dinner again. I think he enjoys debating economics with you. I enjoy it too, Vikram admitted. Your family has given me something I never had. And what's that? Belonging without expectations. Samira reached for his hand, a gesture that had once been unthinkable but now felt natural. The contract expires next month, she said quietly. Tension flickered across Vikram's face. I know. What happens then? He turned to face her fully. That depends entirely on you, Samira. The terms we agreed to included your freedom after 1 year. And if I don't want that freedom, hope flashed in his eyes before caution tempered it. What are you saying? Samira stood, drawing him to his feet. Come with me. She led him to her studio, the room that had evolved from a sterile workspace to the heart of her creative life. On an easel stood a canvas covered with a cloth. I've been working on this for weeks, she said, suddenly nervous. It's not like my other pieces. When she removed the cloth, Vikram went still. The painting showed 2 figures standing on opposite shores of a river, reaching toward each other. Between them, stepping stones emerged from the water, creating a path. The final stone remained unpainted, a blank space connecting the shores. It's us, she explained. Our journey. The blank stone represents our future, unwritten, waiting for us to create it together. Vikram studied the painting with uncharacteristic emotion visible on his face. It's beautiful, he whispered. But what does it mean for us? Samira took a deep breath. It means I don't want our arrangement to end, not because of gratitude or obligation, but because somewhere between your silent support and our honest conversations, I found something I wasn't looking for. And what did you find? His voice was barely audible. A man worth knowing, worth loving. Vikram closed his eyes briefly as if absorbing a physical impact. When he opened them, the vulnerability she'd glimpsed occasionally was fully visible. I never dared hope for this, he said. I expected you would leave when the contract ended. Is that what you want? No. The word emerged with certainty. I want to build a life with you. Not based on contracts or obligations, but on choice. On mutual respect and, he hesitated, and love? Samira finished for him. Instead of answering with words, Vikram picked up a paintbrush from her work table. With careful strokes, he completed the final stepping stone on her painting, connecting the two shores. "No more gaps between us," he said. "No more unfinished paths." Samira took the brush from him and added their joined hands across the completed bridge. "A new contract," she murmured. "Written not on paper, but on canvas. With terms negotiated daily," he added, "and no expiration date." As Mumbai's lights sparkled beyond the windows, Samira realized their unusual beginning had led to something neither had expected. A love story painted in shades of trust, honesty, and second chances, proving that sometimes the most beautiful masterpieces emerge from the most unlikely arrangements.